CBN News also sat down with former U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, for this exclusive interview. He warned about the dangers of the current negotiations if the U.S. re-enters the Iranian nuclear deal. Well, Ambassador Friedman, great to see you again. This time as a private citizen, not as official ambassador. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to be with you, Chris. Yeah. Thank you.
Iran is looming there in the casting a shadow over the whole region. What are your concerns about Iran's ways that it could try to disrupt the Abraham Accords?
Well, look, Iran right now is weak, financially extremely weak. Doesn't mean they're not making mischief, but my view is whatever mischief they're going to make regardless. I mean, they're not trustworthy, and we learned from the efforts of the Mossad just how untrustworthy they are, and we saw when they were given funds, they didn't use it to build hospitals or build schools, but rather just to continue malign behavior. So Iran is, I believe, a constant right now. They are going to engage in malign behavior. The question is, do we want to empower that behavior, or do we want to weaken that behavior? The Trump administration weakened Iran. They're far less of a threat than they were in 2016. If we keep that pressure on, I believe we will get to the right place. A true, as they say, longer, stronger, meaningful, verifiable deal with Iran down the road. But we still have no choice. If we don't do that, and Iran is now empowered again to really disrupt the Middle East, the first thing they're going to go after is the Abraham Accords. Find ways to disrupt the relations between Israel and these nations, because this is the fundamental threat to Iran. Peaceful coexistence within the region between Israel and the modern Sunni states is what they care about disrupting the most. So, look, I mean, we're heading into a very critical period in all these relationships, and I hope the Biden administration treads very carefully. I've said this before, elections do have consequences, and I would expect policies to change in a Democratic administration, and accept that. But don't change policies just because they were Trump policies. I mean, that's a bad reason to change something. Change it because it's wrong, but don't change it because it's a Trump policy, because a lot of the Trump policies were right.
Right now, they're negotiating indirectly with Iran right now in Vienna. What are your concerns about the idea that the U.S. will re-enter the Iranian nuclear deal?
I have tremendous concerns. This is my greatest concern for the region, and I think it would be a terrible mistake. And I've said it many times. Lots of others have said it many times. I think there are many strong voices inside Washington, including people within Congress, who feel strongly about this. And I do hope that the right view prevails.
Yeah. If the sanctions are lifted, could the money that goes to Iran end up funding Hezbollah and Hamas that are threatening Israel?
I think there's a 100% probability that will happen, yes. Of course it will.
And could that lead to a regional war? That's something Ambassador Michael Oren just said a few days ago.
Preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon is of course, extraordinarily important. But the price for Iran not having a nuclear weapon, again, I don't believe you can verify it anyway. But if the price is funding a regional war within the Middle East with a stronger Hezbollah and a stronger Hamas and a stronger Palestinian Islamic Jihad, I mean, that's a ridiculous price to pay. I mean, no one should be paying in that currency, which is what would happen now if we reinflate Iran's economy.
Ambassador Friedman, great to be with you again. Much success, the Patzlahar, on the documentary, your book, and great to be with you again.
Well, thank you so much, Chris.